Hey, hi, how are you? My name's Felt, and welcome back to some Deadlock. Today we're going to talk about Lady Geist, a very powerful character who can be built in a variety of ways, with a lot of stuff to talk about them. So let's jump into this beginner's guide. So in a first for this series, which I know it's only 3 episodes so far, but still, there's actually going to be 2 builds in this video, and that's because Geist can be built in a multitude of ways. There's going to be a link to this build, which is mostly gun focused, with a little bit of spirit in there, mostly to keep yourself above the purple spike mark, so that you can hit stuff pretty well in the mid to late game, but also a pretty purple focused bomb build that has options to swap you to more of a gun focused build in the mid to late game. Both builds are very powerful and valuable. I will be talking through both of them, but as a result, they won't get as much screen time, but both builds, once again, be in the description, should be fully annotated unless I've forgotten something. And if I did, yell at me in the description of the video and go, hey, you forgot this item, and I'll update the builds. I try my best to update all my builds as they come out and as new updates for the game come out that affect them. As a result of the character being so hybridized and able to go into multiple builds, though, I actually usually make decisions on the character and how I'm going to play them once I load into my lobbies. If I see my team is mostly spirit damage, I'm like, all right, great, I'm buying more gun items. If I notice that my team is mostly gun-based, I definitely go more spirit-based. But you can also pivot in the middle of the game. If you notice that your IV, instead of going gun build like you were expecting from the early items, has shifted to a totally purple lightning scroll build, you can just pivot your build a little bit in the mid-game and go, all right, well, maybe I just need to buy a couple more gun items to help fill out some gaps in the roster. Geist is really good at doing that. It does make her less efficient if you don't build builds the same from the start to the finish, but because a lot of items are shared across the builds, which you will see later on in the video, it's not as big of a deal as it would be for other characters. So Geist as a character is also pretty unique in that some of their abilities change and evolve as you level them, namely the 1, the 3, and the ult get unique abilities that make them stronger, but the 2 also changes as you get through it. So this ability section is going to be quite involved. Let's start by talking about Essence Bomb. Essence Bomb sacrifices some of your health to launch a bomb that deals damage after a brief arm time. So it lands and then explodes. It's very, very brief, but there is a slight delay on when it lands to when it explodes. It's basically impossible to dodge unless you're right at the edge on 0 ping, so don't worry too much about it. As you can see, it's 0.6 seconds arming duration. Very difficult to dodge once you get it to large enough. Now, the 30% health cost is not 30% of your current health, thankfully. It is 30% of the damage of the bomb dealt back to you as spirit damage, which means that if you go spirit resist items, it is actually mitigated a little bit, which is great. I know that's a lot for the first ability. Geist is just kind of complicated in how the abilities actually function, even if they're not super difficult to play. Now, the upgrades are pretty simple. The first one just gives you extra cooldown. The next one gives you extra radius and extra damage. And the third one is where it gets interesting. After you upgrade it the 3rd time to max level, the bomb now leaves a toxic mess on the ground that deals 26% of the original damage per second for 6 seconds, which is affected by stuff like duration, obviously. It does make it really, really strong at proccing stuff like escalating exposure on different versions of the build, namely spirit builds. But for other versions, you can imagine that it's not that great to have the giant AoE spirit damage on the ground if you're not really using it to its full potential, but it is almost never bad to have it. Extra damage is always extra damage, no matter how the character works. Next up is the bread and butter of the more gun-focused versions of Geist, Life Drain. You create a tether that drains health from an enemy over time, and it heals you. You can also tether multiple enemies at the same time, once you have charges, but that comes later, and you can also alternate fire it to heal your allies. Now, the upgrades are generally simple until the last one, kind of like the bomb. You get 18 damage per second on the first upgrade, you get 2.5 seconds of duration on the second upgrade, and the last one gives you charges being enabled and grants you 2 charges on the ability, meaning that with extra charge and rapid recharge, you can go up to 5 charges, which is pretty crazy. This ability is also very strong in how much it heals. It heals 80% of the damage dealt to the enemy, and its scaling actually gets quite strong after you level it up, at a 0.8 times your spirit power levels of strong, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 0.8 being applied to a damage per second ability is quite strong. It's why the gun version of Geist still does pretty okay spirit damage into the mid-game, despite the fact that she doesn't have massive amounts of spirit power. Next up is Malice, and this ability is a core part of Geist, and is a really big reason as to why she is so flexible and powerful. And in almost every build you do of Geist, this will be your second ability level just because of the pure strength of the item. Ability. Sorry. You sacrifice some of your health to launch some blood shards that apply a stack of Malice. The stack's up to 5 times. By default, you throw 3 shards in a small cone that deal 23 damage. It's not super strong, but it does apply 8% damage amplification per stack, and a 15% movement slow per stack that lasts for 9 seconds on the debuff and 4 seconds on the slow. It does cost 9% of your max health, though. It costs a lot of health, so if this is ability you're spamming a lot, you're going to be sacrificing a lot of health as you continue to use it. The upgrades are pretty straightforward, but like the other abilities, things change once you get to a certain point. The first level is you get minus 3 seconds of cooldown, but the second one adds base damage and 4 blood shards. Adding 4 blood shards makes the cone wider, making the ability much easier to hit, and you can hit multiple targets at once without much problem, which helps you proc various abilities that are pretty powerful on how Geist works. It also ups the damage amp at the max rank, going up to 15% damage amplification per stack. That means at max stacks you have 75% extra damage on whatever you're hitting. Fun fact, Malice procs on like everything. It's great. Now last but certainly not least is Soul Exchange, the ultimate, one of the most iconic abilities of Lady Geist, if not the iconic ability of her, because it's the thing that makes her such a dangerous threat in the mid to late game, because you get to swap health levels with an enemy target. Now, enemies can only be brought down to 30% of their current health, and you will always be brought up by 30% health minimum. Now, this means that it's obviously better on the healthier targets and worse on the less healthy targets, and it's better the less health you have, and it's worse the more health you have. Meaning that the time this ability looks and feels the best is a great example here that I run into quite often on Geist somehow, is when you're at low health on Geist and there's a Moen Krill coming at you at full health, if you hit this on them, they will be dropped down to 30% of their current health, and you will gain a massive amount of health in response if you were low. It's very, very powerful, and it gets even better as you level it, because the first level, you have 60 seconds of cooldown off of it, taking it from 185 to 125, going from once every 3 minutes to once every 2 minutes. Much, much stronger. Then, at level 2, it silences everyone in a 25-meter radius for 3 seconds after you cast it, meaning that if you're using this to help confirm kills in a team fight, you can just pop it on a high health target to suck their health away, and you silence everyone around them, making it actually a pretty proactive ability sometimes. But you need to be careful, because if you pop it proactively and then the enemy team burns you down, you can't pop it again to come back to full health. You've already used it. Max level is now a lot better than it used to be. I believe max level used to basically not exist on Soul Exchange, and it was almost never worth getting. But nowadays, it is on cast, you gain 60 spirit power, 40% fire rate, and 50% spirit resistance for 8 seconds. Once again, all of this stuff is affected by stuff like superior duration. Even though it's not an item you buy much on Geist, it is affected by it. It's an incredibly powerful self-buff that makes Geist into an absolute monster once they pop ult. It's why, no matter what build you're doing, this is typically maxed out third nowadays, because it's just that much better than it used to be. So you might notice that at the moment, this build's actually a little different than the last portion of the video. It's because it's been about a week since I had a chance to record, and I have changed priorities of items in the build. The build that I put out will be updated with all item descriptions as is normal. This is just a gun build that I've been enjoying a lot. And I'm going to walk through it and walk through what I level up first, and walk through the items that I choose, and walk through how I like to pivot into different things as I go into the late game. So one of the things that makes Geist super strong is the fact that Life Drain does a lot in lane and heals a lot in lane. So as you can see, we level it first, we max it first, and for the most part, we just kind of ignore anything else that we want to do, because maxing this and getting Life Drain online and able to have 2 charges as well as enhanced scaling on it means that the ability is just crazy strong and will out-sustain almost anyone in a 1v1 fight, allowing you to be a super powerful side laner. We do immediately get a point in Soul Exchange to get that minus 60 second cooldown, and then we max Malice, and then we finish maxing Soul Exchange, and then we max the Bomb, because this build is a gun build, and Bomb is just kind of a bonus little thing that you have that'll help you proc spells linger faster. Now, as for the build, you start with extra regen because you hurt yourself in lane a lot, and you just want to not die, and Geist's base numbers are more than high enough to make it so that extra regen is just really good. As you can see, you can sell it for slots or upgrade it into healing tempo in the late game. I feel like healing tempo is fine on Geist. I just think that there's a lot of other better items right now, which we'll be talking through. First item, I typically go Arcane Surge, because if you proc Arcane Surge and then hit someone with your 2, that 15% ability duration, that 12% range, and that 20% spirit power means that your 2 is going to do a lot of freaking damage in lane. It's going to surprise people by how long it lasts, how much life you're sucking away and how much damage you're dealing. On top of that, gives you extra stamina and better stamina recovery, so you can just be super aggressive. As far as our next items, it goes into Mystic Regen and Radiant Regen because of all the self-damage you deal. Radiant Regen is crazy good on Geist, and it gets your 4.8k Purple Spike online super fast, and allows you to deal pretty decent spirit damage with your 2. That's really the only ability that we're caring about the spirit damage on, is the 2. So just make sure that you're Arcane Surging before you pop it if you're in a tight 1v1 fight. Next, we get our Gun Spike of Kinetic Dash into Berserker. Kinetic Dash is just more stamina, which means that we're going double dashing build, which means just be really smart about using your jump dashes. When you jump dash, you become incredibly powerful, and honestly, at this point in the game, you will have spent 7,200 souls, and you will be almost unstoppable in a 1v1 because of the amount of health you regen, and the surprising amount of gun damage you'll be dealing with Kinetic Dash. It's really, really powerful power spike once you hit this point, and people will have a really tough time keeping up with you as long as you are not falling behind them. Next is Berserker. It's the best gun item for Geist, hands down. Because you self-damage so much by throwing Malice, Berserker self-stacks crazy fast, meaning that you will get 70% weapon damage from Berserker. Item is so strong on her, and on top of that, it's just free bullet resist, which is just, you know, good. After that, we get extra charge, because usually at this point in the game, we will be able to have our 2 maxed. And as a result of that, the extra charge is just one more charge of life drain that we can just sit on and have and be ready to go with. It also gives a little more bonus spirit power, making it just that littlest bit better. Then we go into our green items and get our green spike out of the way. You can buy these earlier if you're falling behind and you just need to not die. You can just delay these a little bit if you just feel the need that you're so far ahead you'd rather just get Recharging Rush next, but on average, I like getting both Enchanters and Dispel Magic. They're both good defense items, and they help you just stay alive, and Geist's biggest strengths really is just staying alive through every single fight. On top of that, they have a combined 34% spirit resist on them. Sorry, 31%, I forget. It's not straight additive, it's a weird multiplicative combo. But as you can see, it'll show it over here, we have 31% spirit damage reduction, which is the same as spirit resist by default. It has 30%, we have 31% from these 2 items, and we have slightly better passives because Enchanter's giving you that 5% cooldown and 15 spirit power if you're healthy enough, and Dispel Magic just giving you that heal and move speed bonus. They're just great items. They're just so much better than just buying straight Spirit Resist, in my opinion. You can buy straight Spirit Resist and then get another T2 green item. Spirit Resist is just good on Geist, and if you're not getting both of these items, I recommend doing Spirit Resist and Reactive Barrier if you're getting really Dovat, or potentially Debuff Reducer if you know you need Spellbreaker in the late game. But this is just really good. You could technically skip Dispel Magic for Counterspell as well. You're really, really dipping low into the Self-Spirit Resist at that point, though, and this is more of a, you need this in addition to extra Spirit Resilience of some variety. And so at this point, we're hitting our biggest power spikes of the build. Recharging Rush is really, really good. It is sellable in the mid to late game because it's just 10% weapon damage, 20% max ammo is not crazy good, but the ability to basically, for free, reset a life drain proc every 24 seconds is just really, really good in big active team fights, especially with some of the items we're going to go later. I personally hold on to it as long as possible. I will say, if you notice right now, we are full up on slots. This is why I say extra regen is sellable. Selling extra regen to get Spellslinger in your slot-locked environments is super worthwhile, and it puts you really, really well off overall. And as you can see, our build is basically done at 23,200, meaning that just above 20k, our build is effectively done. And we are super ready to fight and super able to just run the enemy team down and do great stuff because we got Spellslinger. If you don't know what this item is, you don't know what it does, you're missing out. This is one of the best orange items in the game for characters who like to spam abilities. Geist in particular is really good at doing it because of how often you can throw Malice at people, which is another reason why we like Radiant Regen, like holding on to it, because every time we cast an ability, we heal 70 health, because otherwise we would just be eating through our health bar with Spellslinger casts. But it boosts your fire rate by 11% and gives you minus 10% reload time per stack, up to 6 stacks per ability cast. And like I said, because of how often we're spamming stuff for something like Berserker already, Spellslinger is just a doubling down of that effect. Meaning that in combat, if we get our 10 stacks of Berserker and our 6 stacks of Spellslinger, we will have 70% weapon damage and 66% fire rate with 60% less reload time, making Geist An absolute powerhouse of a left click hero that will surprise people as long as you're hitting your headshots, excuse me. Because if you don't hit your headshots, she's not as good. She's still really good, but she's better when you hit your headshots because of how her gun scales. It's a really good gun, even with the nerfs that have come through. I've been playing her a lot, and she still feels great. Talking about the final core section here, which I'm sure makes no sense at all as to why it's labeled core. This is typically what you will go into in the true late game. I, at the moment, am really liking Ricochet, Silencer, and Inhibitor on Geist because it is expensive, yes, but once you get Ricochet, all of a sudden your bullets are now bouncing around the fight, and these high damage bullets from Berserker with really good reload speed are now just constantly causing problems for the enemy team. And then you apply Silencer, and then you apply Inhibitor, and then if you've gotten to the point where you're at 42k souls in the game, your bullets are just shredding people and constantly giving them debuffs and silencing them and making them have a really bad time. The other reasons that I like these items is that tiny bit of fire rate from Ricochet. Ooh, baby. It's so nice. It also helps you farm camps faster, but that's just kind of a nice side thing. The spirit resist on Silencer is also really good because it makes you even tankier. As you can see, I believe we are at 41% spirit armor now, which saves us from hurting ourselves with our spirit abilities even more. And then Inhibitor is just kind of busted right now. Inhibitor is possibly just like the best gun item in the game at the moment. I'm kind of surprised it's existing as is. It has 25% weapon damage and 150 bonus health, and it makes people have a 40% healing reduction and 30% damage penalty. The item is just so wildly good. Now, if you're worried about dying in the mid to late game and you want some more survivability, Leech and Cheat Death are my next two recommendations for you in general. If you're just following the build straight and you don't want to counter build extra. Leech can easily replace Enchanter's Emblem, and Cheat Death can also easily replace Enchanter's Emblem. If you were just looking for more survivability in the mid to late, that is the first item that you should get rid of. Next, personal opinion, is Extra Charge. You still really like the dashes in the mid to late game because they're just so cost efficient, and they're also just giving you 5 total stamina with pretty decent stamina regen means you're just really mobile in team fights, and you're really hard to lock down, and you're really easy to dive with. The Leech giving you 30% lifesteal of both spirit and bullet varieties, as well as bonus health, as well as weapon damage, as well as spirit power. It's great. It makes you really hard to get rid of. Cheat Death is crazy good because you're already a character that goes, aha, you can't kill me when you ult someone, and now you just literally have a period of 4.5 seconds where they can't kill you. I think Cheat Death is actually really, really strong right now. It's actually a really, really good item to finish out builds for almost any character with right now, because people just kind of panic when someone doesn't immediately die, and they don't follow through on their damage to kill them, and you can often just escape, go heal up, and come back to a fight. I'm now going to very, very quickly just zip my way through all the extra items listed on this build, because a lot of it has annotations, and the rest of it is just items that if you know why they're good, you know why they're good. Resto Shot monster rounds just help you fight in lane better. As long as you're hitting people with Resto Shot, it's one of the best healing items in the game for early game. 50 health if you hit an enemy hero is crazy. And Monster Hounds both helps you farm and helps you go after the enemy team pretty easily because you can spend your bullets farming the creeps in the lane, and then you go after them with your abilities. Healing Right's just a good chunk of healing if you fall really low in lane but you don't want to leave yet. It's not as good on Geist. I feel like you'd just fine with extra regen and you just play passively, but it's there if you want it. Counterspell is just insanely good right now. Lash and Pocket especially. If you see them on the enemy team, they're probably your #1 problem as Geist. Pocket especially because they turn off your healing, so just get good at counterspelling Pocket ult. I know that's a really big ask. I don't even do it correctly a lot of the time, but it's great. Once again, as you can see, there are descriptions on the items, and you can absolutely sell Enchanter's Emblem for counterspell if you're slot locked and you realize that Lash and Pocket are giving you problems. It's just good. You can sell Enchanter's Emblem for it if you need Spirit, or you can just skip Enchanter's Emblem for it if you really need Spirit defense. I don't think it's as necessary at the moment if you're going Enchanter's Dispel, but it's in here if you want it. Warpstone's really good if they don't have much Spirit res, and you can skip Enchanter's Emblem for it. It helps you teleport in and out of fights, makes you even more mobile than the 5 stamina does already. Plus, it's really good at just giving you 30% bullet resist. It's just a great item. Other potential choices include stuff like Toxic Bullets. It's a good gun item that gives anti-heal that you could buy in place of Recharging Rush or around the same time as Recharging Rush just to make sure you have extra anti-heal in your build. The same applies for Healbane. They're both just really good at that. Heroic Aura is really good if they have a lot of gun damage and you're going, I need to not die to gun damage, but I also am still the gun carry of the team. 15% bullet resistance and an AoE to your teammates, as well as being able to boost fire rate and move speed for your team. It's just a good active item, pretty solid tier 3, not very expensive as a result of it, and just really good. Reactive Barrier, good into stuns and immobilizes. It's just a really good item right now. The 6% Spirit Resist is a nice bonus, but it's not that insanely good. But it does scale into the late game really well because it has really powerful scaling. I put my character to max level right now, I believe, so you can see that it has 561 barrier when it gets activated, which is a lot of barrier. Debuff Reducer is great if you're going into Unstop or Spellbreaker already and you just want to buy it as a green item. It's really good into characters like Abrams because they'll try and stun you into a wall, and the stun won't last as long as they think, and you can potentially parry them afterwards. It also just gets rid of debuffs faster. It's a pretty hollow shell of how good it used to be because it used to upgrade into what is now Dispel Magic. But it's okay right now. It's worth a buy if you really, really need it, but I'd honestly just rather get Enchanter's Emblem most games. Crippling Headshot, great gun item. Honestly, you can go it over Inhibitor if you want to just stay in the gun tree and not get any more green in your build. I don't hit my headshots as well as I should, and so personally I like the Ricochet Inhibitor core. I know that lots of Geist builds at the moment are actually just not going Ricochet, and instead just going Crippling Headshot with their build and just saying I will hit my headshots and kill them with my gun, and I don't need to get Ricochet to spread out debuffs to make myself more efficient in the late game. If you're good at hitting your headshots, Crippling Headshot is better. 2 types of shred, and healing resist down that lasts for 12 seconds. It's a crazy good item. Plated armor, if you don't know what plated armor is at the moment, then you're probably a normal player because no one buys this item. It's really good into Infernus and Mina and Haze, characters that have these on-hit bullet effects, but it's just not very strong right now. You're probably better off just buying Metal Skin to deal with that problem. Spellbreaker and Unstoppable are for Spellbreaker Unstoppable things. I've kind of talked about them already. Unstoppable is not going to be bought that much, but it is a good anti-CC item if you're just getting spam CC'd by the enemy team and you just need to live through a team fight. Colossus is a really good item right now, actually. I've found that it's really worth buying on these frontline gun characters like Venator, and Geist kind of fills that niche as well, so if you feel like you're kind of the frontline gun character, you could probably spare a slot for Colossus. Massive infusion of health and weapon damage, and then when you activate it, you get huge amounts of resistance. You also get melee damage. That part's not as useful for Geist, but you can slap people, and that's fun. Healing tempo we've already talked about. It's an okay upgrade from extra regen, but more often than not, I'll just skip it. The 25% healing effectiveness is fine. The spirit resist is fine. The regen in and out of combat is fine, but I just find that there are better items that I could spend my money on. If you are using your life drain to heal your allies, it's even better than it is normally, but I don't know many Geists who actually do that, but it is worth knowing. E-Shift is just basically another cheat death, but when you come out of it, you get a bunch of buffs and stuff. I find it to be better on characters like Mina than Geist because you can cheat death, Ethereal Shift, and then get out. Whereas Geist, it's more of a cheat death, Ethereal Shift, pop your ult to live, and then keep fighting. I find cheat death to be a little better for that than E-Shift, but it's in here in case you want it. Metal Skin is Metal Skin. It's the best anti-gun item in the game right now. It really stops the Wraiths and Hazes and Vipers of the world from just shredding you with their bullets. It's better against, like, Drifter as well right now because he's been pretty popular. But it's mostly just, oh, they're shooting lots of bullets at me? Metal Skin. Rapid Recharge is in here too in case you're slot locked and you're going, well, I just kind of want to use my suck life better. Sorry, your life drain better. It does give you better cooldown between charges. It does give you bonus charges. It does give you bonus spirit power for the charges. It's just not that incredible, especially if you're still using Recharging Rush in the build. Recharging Rush is just better than Rapid Recharge in my opinion. And honestly, a lot of games you could probably skip buying extra charge in the first place. I just like it because it feels good right now, and a lot of other builds that I followed have been using it, and it just feels good to buy. Your Siphon Life, your Life Drain. Sorry, I don't know if the abilities names changed or if I'm just forgetful. Life Drain. It just feels better with that tiny bit of extra spirit power because this build is a little spirit power light. We only get the 38 from the base thing, and then whatever else we get from our items, which is not that high for the most part. This build will also be in the description. I've personally found that lately it's not as strong as the Gungeist build. This is a very bomb-focused build, and I'm just going to talk about it real quick for like a minute or two. We max bomb first, and then we get that point of soul exchange, and then we max our malice, and we get another point into soul exchange to get the silence. Then we max life drain, and then we finish soul exchange, because we're not trying to be up close and personal. We are trying to stay back and throw bombs. That's why the build looks like this. We queue it up and buy our way through it. You'll notice that there's a lot of things you have to actually click, which is always fun. But it plays generally pretty similar to the other build in terms of how you play in lane. It just doesn't use life drain as much. You just throw more bombs, and they're a little bigger and they do a little more. We get our 4.8k purple spike pretty early with Mystic Burst and Mystic Regen, Extra Spirit, Compressed Cooldown, Mystic Expansion, Enduring Speed, Spirit Lifesteal, Bullet Lifesteal, straight into Leech. We actually finish Leech before we actually get our orange spike in this build because we are so spirit focused. It's all about hitting essence bombs, using life drain pretty okay, and then using malice to finish people off or just debuff them more. You're pretty powerful in lane. Once you get Leech, you are really hard to kill because you are throwing so many bombs, and they are usually just leaving this AoE field that is helping you heal. Kinetic Dash and Berserker, we've already talked about why they're good. You get superior cooldown in this build, though, because you want to spam bomb more. And then Greater Expansion, Tank Buster, Radiant Regen, all really good items for an AoE spammy build. Tank Buster is actually quite strong at the moment, and it synergizes really well with Essence Bomb because you'll hit the bomb and they'll just get shredded. It does proc off of Malice if you have this much spirit power. So don't forget that. Don't forget that Tank Buster will proc off Malice, and you can just spam it from a distance and do a lot of damage. We already know why Radiant Regen is good. Improved Spirit is improved Spirit. Toxic Bullets is still in this build, just in case, as is Rapid Recharge. They're both just really good items. Keelbane, Counterspell, Dispel Magic, Spirit Resilience. Y'all know why these items are good. I've already talked about it in the other build. That's why I'm going so fast through this one. The build changes about here, though. When you get your free slots, there are several options that you can have. You can pivot this build from bomb spam into a very similar to the gun build type build. You get Spell Slinger, Silencer, Inhibitor, and to finish out your slots. And then Frenzy is also in here as well if you'd rather have it just to be Frenzy. I find it to be generally pretty okay on Geist, but I'm falling out of love with it lately. But you can go with these items to be a very gun-focused Geist and just kind of pop heads. Or you can go the fun route, which is you get Spirit Burn, Escalating Exposure, and Mystic Reverb. Now, Mystic Reverb can be put on either Malice or your Bomb, and the whole point of it is just you want to proc it as often as possible, and the lifesteal that's on it means that that ability heals you even more. So if you're spamming Malice a lot, and you just want to constantly proc the damage that is on Malice and constantly proc the debuffs, you can put Mystic Reverb on Malice so it heals you a lot and constantly slows people even more. It's pretty disgusting, actually. Escalating Exposure is good because your bomb has a giant AoE poison field. It procs really fast. It's really strong for Bomb Geist. And Spirit Burn is in here because it's big AoE anti-heal, and big AoE anti-heal, good. You'll proc it pretty consistently with Bomb. It won't proc off one throw because it only hits about 400 damage at endgame. But if people stand in the field for more than like a second, it'll immediately proc, meaning that throwing a bomb into a giant group of people means you're doing giant AoE Spirit Burn, and if you have Mystic Reverb, giant AoE heal, and if you have Escalating, giant AoE debuff. The slot-locked upgrades here are Juggernaut, Boundless Spirit, and Transcendent Cooldown, all really good upgrades for the build, all really good items. Our final counterplay options are pretty similar: Plated Armor, Metal Skin, Spellbreaker, Cheat Death. We've talked about all these before. However, Refresher is in here because sometimes you just want to die less as this build, and if they're diving you really hard, you want to be able to ult twice inside of a fight, and Refresher helps you do that. It's not something I hugely recommend, but it is worth knowing that it's pretty solid on a spirit build because you're wanting to just stay at a distance and suck your own health to throw all your abilities out. Witchmail is also crazy good in this build because you'll spend a really long time before you get Life Drain maxed. It's the second to last thing that gets maxed, meaning that you won't be accidentally spending Witchmail procs onto a Life Drain. Sorry, not Malice. I read what I saw. But as a result of that, you'll probably get back more bombs and more malices and more soul exchanges really, really fast. Overall, this build is more fun than the other one to me because I like throwing giant AoE nukes at the enemy team, but the other build is a little better at the moment. Some general tips and tricks for Lady Geist include using Instant Cast. If you're not using Instant Cast, you're showing off exactly what you're going to do. Your animations show off how you're going to play the game. Your bomb shows up in your hands. Your 2, you hold out your hand and you have a little icon on it showing that you're going to start trying to go for a life drain. Your 3, however, your Malice, doesn't. It's one of the only ones that doesn't. That's why it's so deadly, is you can just throw it out without even having to think about it. Your ult is the biggest one, though. If you don't have this on instant cast, you'll walk around like this, showing off very obviously that you're going for an ult. Whereas if you have it on instant cast, you can just be dashing around inside a fight, jumping around, and then just walk up to someone and hit them at super close range with the press of one button, and they won't be quite ready for you to do that. Geist is a moderately complex character because a lot of the abilities have these weird learning curves before you can fully utilize them the way that you want to. Malice and Essence Bomb dealing self-damage, the way that the Life Drain's range works, how close you have to be for Essence Swap, and also how it's only good on high health targets and low health targets it's very not good. She has a lot of base learning for you to go through before you can start really digging into the rest of the kit. But once you do the base learning, she doesn't get any more complicated. It's a lot of you hit your shots, you hit your abilities, you learn how your abilities get thrown, and you play really carefully around Essence Swap because the enemy team's going to be playing carefully around it too. I think she's a great character, and I think that there was someone everyone should try and learn how to play because I think they're just so fun. But that'll be doing it for this video. Thanks for hanging on and watching. Y'all are all cool and I appreciate you, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.